are not working? Uh, or why is it that my prayers are not being answered? Well, this question comes up often. People ask me, especially after they may have worked with someone who may have given them some work to do. You know, you could have gotten a reading and you were told to burn a certain type of candle or to wear a certain type of oil, make a certain type of offering, and there would be, you know, the outcome that you desired, but then you perform all of those acts and nothing occurs, at least uh, to the visible eye, the physical eye. Nothing occurs in alignment with what you're asking for or you desire or you may need. Okay, the first thing to understand is that the energy that you go into your rituals with is the energy that the ritual will amplify. Okay, so if you go into a ritual or prayer or affirmation with the energy that this may not work, it won't work, or I'm only doing this just in case, uh, then that's actually the type of ashe or vigor that's going to be on that particular action or that particular ritual. One of the things that I see often, and sometimes I have to even kind of warn students and clients about, is the lack of research and study uh, as it pertains to your spiritual walk. Having or showing the commitment to those energies that you're looking to work with will cause them to want to work with you more, but also to have a higher level of dialogue and results. So if you're looking to work with Oshun or you're looking to work with Oya, then you should do the proper study on Oshun and Oya. So that way, when they start expressing themselves to you in their various forms, you're already familiar. Or more importantly, they can express themselves to you in their various forms because you familiarized yourself with those various forms. So now they can speak a larger breadth of language to you. So when you are raising up your intellectual and your spiritual and genetic station in the universe, you become more apparent to those energies that you're looking to work with. Uh, for those who come and view this particular work or spiritual work as just a financial transaction, and they say, okay, well, I'll just pay someone or I'll buy certain supplies from a spiritual store, give those, and I'm fine. You'll find that you'll consistently be doing rituals and they're not working. Well, one of the reasons is because a person who's coming with such a low vibration or with such dim light actually has to go through more work to invoke those spirits because ultimately they cannot see you nor can they hear you. So now if you're coming into a ritual or a situation or a ceremony experience and you're bringing no light, no evolution into that experience, then you have to work all the much harder to get those entities to pay attention to you, if they will at all. And even if they do, then what you're actually receiving is the lower aspects of who and what they are, as opposed to the higher aspects that deal with you when you're vibrating more in that guru mind state or above the heart chakra. One of the entities that we have that I often note as a perfect symbol of obedience is the sun. The sun always does its job. It always commits itself to the work that it has to do. And it's one of the greatest offerings that you can even give to the spiritual entities that you're working with, is the power, the energy of the sun, whether it be through through fire, whether it be through plants. A lot of times we're told to bring herbs and we're told to bring flowers in our ritual work, because those beings, they trap the power of the sun inside of them. And then through certain invocations or certain processes, even just by making them essential oils, getting the essence out of those herbs and flowers, you unleash the power of the sun in them. And of course, when you're dealing with plant life, you know, you have wind, you have soil, earth, you have water, and you have sun. So they're a more complete being.
Peace, everyone. I'm Kim, your host, and welcome again to another live segment of ANU Asafo. So I know that we're broadcasting through YouTube, and we're also broadcasting through Blog Talk again, so that you all can call in with comments or questions. So if you don't want to put your question in the comments section of the Hangout, if you're not on Google Hangouts, you can actually still call 347-945-7680. So again, this is a live segment of ANU Asafo, and thank you again for taking some time out of your day to check in with us. So today I'll be speaking on how to make sure your rituals are effective. And the clip that you heard in the beginning of the show was Chief explaining that, and that came from a show entitled Make Sure Your Rituals Work, I think was the exact title of it. So again, if you want to check that entire show out, which I really suggest you do because it was a good one, you can always go into Blog Talk or check the YouTube pages, our YouTube channels for that show. So first, let me start with a few announcements so you'll know what's going on with ANU Nation. I do have another workshop coming up next month on October 12th called The Magic of Essential Oils. And so as you know, this month, we had one on herbs, which was really successful. And I urge you to go ahead and sign up at anunation.org/events. The class is starting to fill up. So I'm looking forward to the next one on oils. And so ANU Nation is starting to do monthly webinars. So every month there'll be something new. So you always want to make sure that you're signed up for the newsletter and that you're checking the website regularly to see what webinar or retreat or whatever is going on with ANU Nation. So following the oils webinar, I'll be doing one on alchemy next. Soon after that one, the next month after that one. So you can actually go ahead and sign up for that one as well if you're interested. They are both listed under the events tab at anunation.org. And soon after those courses, those webinars, there will be some books coming and a course that will go into it a little bit deeper. So that's something to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to it. Sorry. Next, I want you to make sure you're keeping up with our YouTube sites. We're starting to develop quite a few of them since everybody seems to be a bit more active through YouTube. So some of the YouTube channels are Orisha Yoruba. And if you just type these into the search field, let's see. Yeah, if you type these into the search field, you can find them. There's ANU Nation. There's the Enlightenment and Transformation channel, which is where all of these shows will be posted with video. Sadulu House, Yuya, Assaan, ANU is another one. So if you type these into the search field, you'll be able to find them. And this is also important because starting November 1st, all of the Enlightenment and Transformation shows, except for Chief Speaks, will be broadcasting through YouTube. So you want to make sure that you're subscribed to the Enlightenment and Transformation channel so that you can tune in. Just a second, I think we got some audio stuff. Okay. Let's go over some of the websites that are available. We have anunation.org, which is where you can go to sign up for the newsletter and register for the webinars and the retreats. We have saduluhouse.com, and this is where you'll find that you can sign up for the actual ANU spiritual training. Osiris, and all of these sites, by the way, have links on them so that you can schedule a reading. I think, we're still getting like emails for that asking, how can I get a reading? You can schedule it through any of these websites. We have osirislife.com, where you can get personal coaching, rituals, readings, and, if you just need more help, more one-on-one help, that would be an option for you, because sending questions about rituals and things like that to the customer service box is not going to get them answered. You can leave them on the appropriate sites, but sending them to customer service is not going to work. So if you require a little bit more hands-on, you need more help with Chief, I would suggest that you sign up for Osiris Life so you can get monthly, consistent help. All right, so we're going to take a quick break for some announcements, and then we'll be right back to discuss the clip for this strong. Are you ready to take action and rise to the next stage of your evolution? Then monthly life coaching services at osirislife.com are just for you. Osiris Life does not just focus on spiritual development. We offer a holistic approach to helping you realize your goals and teach you the tools to overcome any barriers to your success. Services at Osiris Life are provided on a monthly basis and include, but are not limited to, spiritual consultations and one-on-one coaching, instructionals via podcasts and videos, life mapping and goal tracking, anonymity, spiritual work done on your behalf, and there are 3 package levels to choose from. Take the steps to get your life on track and flourishing by purchasing a subscription package today at osirislife.com. We invite you to share in the power of goodwill by becoming an ANU Nation sponsorship partner. ANU Nation is a community design organization whose programs and services often depend on sponsors and philanthropic support from foundations, businesses, and generous individuals like you. Our sponsorship program provides involvement by our affiliates in the 5 major markets, plus the impact of an international media campaign. By partnering with us, you join a powerful movement that supports thousands of people who find healing and personal growth and development with our help. For more information and to purchase a sponsorship package today, please visit us at anunation.org/anu/sponsor-us. All right, welcome back. And again, make sure you register for the Magic of Oils, which is coming up on the 12th of next month. So again, check the events tab on anunation.org for monthly webinars as well. And also, guys, I was going to say go to Enlightenment and Transformation on YouTube, because all of the commercials and the promotions that we're doing for the webinars are there. So even if you missed the herbs webinar from last month, you can go there and get some of those rituals. There were like 8 commercials that we did for that webinar, and they all contained some rituals, some very good ones actually. And you can still get the information there, as well as the information that we're putting out now for the Magic of Oils. Okay, so again, as when the show started, you heard a clip from Chief that came from the show, Make Sure Your Rituals Work. And the reason I chose this clip this strong is because Chief has been giving out a lot of rituals lately. So in the webinars, we had tons. The commercials for the webinars, we had 8, free ones. So, and coming up for this next webinar, there are going to be even more rituals. So I thought that it would be important to kind of give you a little bit of information on why maybe your rituals aren't working or why they're not as effective as they could be. And I also, another reason why I wanted to do this is because after the webinar, we were getting a lot of questions in about the rituals. So some people were having trouble understanding the instructions, or they were just, really unsure about the procedure or how to go about doing it. So I wanted to discuss some of the reasons why so many people had some issues or doubts about how to actually do the ritual. Okay, but before I discuss that, there was another clip I wanted to share, and this is The reason why I want to share this one is because, you know, after a day or so, after hearing this advice from Chief, it just really made me think about some things about, you know, my choices as well as, you know, some of my friends' choices in mates and things like that. And this is a clip that came from Thursday's show, Chief's Thunderground Thursday show, just last strong. So Shatavia, who's a student, she called in with a question asking, how can she find a mate? Since, you know, Chief is always saying that we need to create families. How can she find a mate if she's still searching for herself or doesn't know her purpose? How can she find a good quality mate and know that, like, after she finds this person that it won't like steer her off of her path? So I wanted to really share that clip with you all, because if you missed it, you really, really, really missed some great advice. And I think that it deserved to be heard again. So let's check that clip out real quick and then we'll get started.
So you're saying, how can I look for a mate while at the same time look for myself and know that I'm not going to be thrown off of my path?
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So whatever mate that you magnetize into your world, you have to magnetize someone who's going to inspire you further on that path. And that path has to run concurrent with his. Okay. So let's say if you say my path is to, I don't know, have a botanica. We'll say I'm supposed to have a spiritual store that people are going to come to. Then you wouldn't want to look for a mate who wants to have a botanica too. That's not it. You want to look at somebody who's like, I want a mall, and you can put your botanica into the mall. So if you help me to get this mall, then we can put that botanica in it, and the family will have that. You see, his purpose and his mission has to be overarching, you know, in relationship to yours. You know, it has to really be grander. And that's how you know you won't get pulled off. Because if you say I want a botanica, he says I want a botanica, then what happens is now we debate over what kind of botanica, then he may lose interest. He may go another path, this or that. But if you get someone that had, as a woman, now this advice would be different if you're a man, but when you get someone and you're dealing with someone whose mission has room for your desires, then you have something. You know, you can't come with a mission and say, well, look, this is what I'm trying to do. It can't be that. You know, when you hear what that individual is doing, and you should see it manifested, you should see them actively doing something. When you see that, then you could say, okay, I can be me in this environment. You know, especially if the person is asking, hey, what do you want to do? You know, you got to be careful. I'll tell you this, you'll be thrown off the path if you get with someone and he asks you what you want to do, and he says, all right, well, that's cool. That's what we're going to put our efforts into. So, like, let's say if he just has some money and you want a botanica, and this is very tempting for a lot of women. You got to be careful. He's got money. You want the botanica, right? And he says, well, tell you what, I'm going to invest my money in your botanica. That's bad business right there. That's going to fail. That's going to fail, because now he's put you out there on the horse as the pioneer, and he's the fuel behind you, where it should be the other way around. You should be fueling his vision of getting this mall or building a strip mall, whatever it is, and you should be the fuel behind that, and the botanica helps to pay for that. You see, that's how the exchange relates. And most of the time, you see, it won't be like that, sadly. Most people screw that piece up right there. They'll look for equality. Well, we both always wanted to live on a farm, and it never works. You know, especially as a woman, you gotta look for a man who's gonna enhance you, take you to the next level. You know, now you can help him to take you to the next level, but he's got to take you to the next level. It's got to be an upgrade. You know, it can't be somewhere we doing this side by side, because the way you think and the way he thinks should be totally different. So we can't really have a co-leadership thing here. So if I had the mall, and I said, listen, this is your storefront. This is the Botanica. That's your Botanica. You ain't keeping none of that money. I mean, that money's going back in the family, but that's yours. If you're running it wrong, if you're doing something, yeah, then I'll step in, because I'll probably would have had more business expertise than you do. But you know, he's got to have a large mission, and it doesn't mean that he has to be totally unleashed and manifested in that mission. You don't have to like see him with them all, but you got to definitely know that he's not making a lot of consistent stupid statements or stupid decisions, where it's like you can clearly see he's not going to have this. He can't be 40 years old and still talking about, you know, when he gets signed, or, you know, when he's trying to sell his beats, you know what I'm saying, to the schoolboy Q. You know, it can't be anything like, it's got to be realistic. If he's 40, he got to be on some grown man like, yeah, I'm trying to buy this island. You know, I'm trying to get a resort on a beach. That's what I'm working on right now. No, I don't drive a coupe, but I got a nice truck. You know, so you know, you kind of have to gauge some things like that. You know, that's okay. How I would advise for that. And you obviously know that it's got to be somebody who replaces me. You know, it's got to be somebody. It can't be somebody who you give my book to and he's like, oh my God, this is amazing, and you two are learning together. Forget that. And I know a lot of people are shaking their head listening, but that's okay, because 70% divorce rate in America. Fix that, then shake your head. You know, so the thing is, it's got to be somebody who's already like, yeah, I know Chief. Yeah, that's my man. We were in Nigeria together. You know, if that's the type of information you need, it can't be someone where y'all are learning this together, because then that always gives you room to debate. And if he debates with you, and he's worthless.
Okay. So that was the clip. I'm getting some feedback. Hang on. Okay, so that was the clip from Thunderground Thursday show on restoration. And like I said, I just really wanted to share that because, you know, the fullness of what he said really didn't hit me until maybe like a day or so later. And I just thought about, you know, the decisions I've made in the past, as well as, you know, some female friends of mine and just women in general. You know, when we think of choosing a mate, we don't think of any of these things. You know, we kind of just pick a mate based on, you know, some of the most idiotic things, like, you know, oh, we both like to travel, or, you know, we have, you know, this in common, or like we like to watch the same kind of movies. And that's not like, that's not a basis for a relationship, not a sustaining or a successful one. One of the things that he said is that his mission should have room for your desire. So whatever it is that you want to do, you need to make sure that the man that you choose, that his mission is broad enough to include whatever it is that you want to do. And this just avoids so much conflict, because you'll always be focused on your purpose. And the focus and the energy that you put into what it is you want to do also fuels his mission. So then you're not, you know, in 10 years saying, you know, well, you've changed. You used to like these movies. You don't watch these movies with me anymore. Why don't we travel anymore? And then the relationship just completely falls apart because you base the relationship on something, you know, like traveling, or, you know, foods that you guys like, you know, that are in common. So that was so important to me because, you know, we're not brought up this way. So one of the first things we have to do is find out what your mission is. And another thing is, once you find out what that mission is and you figure it out what it is you should be doing, then you get up and go and find that man that he was speaking of. You know, you have to be the hunter. That's something else that we're kind of programmed not to do. We wait for the man to come to us instead, and that's not necessarily how it goes. So even, you know, if you're confused about this, you can kind of, again, look to nature and see how this works. So even with lions, you know, the female lion does the hunting. So again, like I said, we can always, you know, kind of check these things out and see how this works out in nature, when we have disagreements about it. But like I said, it took me like a day or so to catch up to that, because I was thinking like, that is why so many of these, so many of our relationships don't work out, because we don't form relationships with our purpose in mind. And like you said, you have to pick someone that's miles ahead of you, not somebody, we can't be trying to do the same thing, because then that's going to create conflict, because men are programmed to lead. So you both can't lead if you have the same goal in mind. Like you said, if you both want to open a botanica, that's not going to work, because you're going to want to run it and he's going to want to run it. So then you're going to have conflict. A good thing to check out on just, once you get this down on purpose, or your purpose and finding a mate, is go back and check out the Femme Fatale show and the Karma Sutra show. Because if you listen to Thunderground Thursdays, that last show, and finish listening to the advice that Chief gave, he was saying that, females have got to get out of this thing where we think, your vagina is all you need. That's going to sustain the relationship. You got to kind of get out of that program. That's not bringing enough to the table. So go back and listen to the Karma Sutra, and it talks about, the arts, some things that women should be trained to do. And that'll kind of increase your stock a little bit. But back to, and he also gave some really good advice for men too in that clip. So go back and check that out if you have a chance as well. But let's go ahead and get back to this Strong's clip. We were speaking of effective rituals and why don't my rituals work? And like I said, I wanted to go over this because we were getting emails from people who attended the last webinar who had, questions about the rituals that were given. Some were just asking, how do I, how do you do the ritual? Do I take, it got really meticulous at one point. Like, do I do this close to my house, or do I have to do this miles away from my house? Or, it's almost like, do I take one step or two steps? Do I walk or do I skip? And, and after a point, it just kind of gets a little, I don't know. It just, to me, you have too much doubt and uncertainty going into your ritual. So already I'm just like, this is not going to work for you, or you're going to have to do it a few times because you don't have any confidence going into the ritual. So one of the things that Chief said in the clip is that sometimes you're told to sacrifice or go outside of your own Ashe matrix to borrow energy from another being. And this is what we call ebos or sacrifices. And the things that you're told to go out and get will always be an element of some sort. So this is why webinars like herbs, oils, and alchemy is necessary, because you have to start to have a relationship with herbs and plants and nature to help you out in your ritual. These are tools that we use in our rituals. So like you said, a lot of times you don't have enough Ashe, or your connection is not strong enough with your Ori or your purpose to just do it on your own, which is where we're trying to get to. You don't want to have to use all of these things to try to make things happen for you. You want to be intelligent enough to make better decisions and things of that sort, so that you don't have to do so much in the future to help increase your wealth or to find a mate or whatever it may be. So like a plant or an herb or something, it will always be some type of element, an animal, a plant, or an herb. And so the element that you choose or that's chosen for you is based on the amount of light in it. And by light, he was saying like the sun, for instance. Of course, plants and herbs, stones, and animals have more light because they're in nature a lot more than we are, and because they are connected to their purpose more. They are more loyal to their purpose. And this is what he was explaining in the clip. So another thing he said is that spirits only see light. And so sometimes the animal that you use to sacrifice, or the plants, or the oils that you use, or whatever your tool may be, has more light than a human. And like I said, it's because that element is more obedient to its nature than you are. So another show, as you know, I'm always referencing shows because a lot of these questions that we get in customer service can be answered if you go back and listen to a lot of these blog talk shows. But if you go back and listen to the AntiNature Show, which was, I think this was Friday, if I'm not mistaken, go back and listen to that show. You'll understand what Chief means by being obedient to your nature. Okay. So, for example, if you're doing a ritual to attract like a good mate or a good male, strong mate, like, Shatavia was speaking about in the clip earlier, but you're not really doing anything on a regular basis to bring that type of man into your life or into your reality, any ritual that you do probably won't work. So then you may go to someone like Chief to do the ritual for you on your behalf because you don't have enough ashe or energy to put into the ritual that you've tried, into the rituals that you've tried. So you're not getting the results that you want. So you'll go to somebody else to do it for you. So, but you don't realize that you keep attracting the person that you are attracting that you don't want, because that's the energy that you're putting out there. Whatever you're getting is a reflection of yourself. But anyway, you go to Chief and he does this ritual for you. But guess what? It'll probably, even when he does it, only be temporary. And magic is temporary because you're not doing anything to sustain the work that he did for you. So you just kind of shoved off all responsibilities and said, ritual didn't work for me, so I'm just going to pay Chief to do it. Now, I don't even have to worry about it. He'll do it. I know his stuff works. I'll just let him do it, and I'll just sit back and wait for this man to show up. So even in that sense, it's not going to work because you're not doing anything to cultivate or to sustain that relationship. So the guy may actually show up, but you won't know what to do to hold on to him or to keep the relationship. Because again, like I said, you're not in tune with yourself or the ritual that was done on your behalf. So again, first you need to figure out what your purpose is and then start looking. So once you're actively doing something, then any ritual that you do will kind of add some energy to what it is you're trying to find. And there are several ways to figure out what your purpose is. You can definitely get a reading. You can do it that way. But you can also kind of sit back and analyze all the events and things that have happened in your life. You can, break down your name, the etymology of your name, where you were born, and things that you kind of naturally have a talent or gift for. Sometimes our purpose has always been right there in front of us, but we're so caught up in just day-to-day stuff that we don't take time to really sit down and just look at our life, kind of objectively, to see exactly what was going on and why did I make some of these decisions, or why do I always seem to get this type of job, or why do I always attract this type of person. So that's another way that you can find your purpose. And once you find your purpose, then I would say, and once you decide to be loyal to that purpose, then I would say, go ahead and maybe then your rituals would probably be a whole lot more effective. Another thing that he told us that we can do is to increase your intelligence about the energy you're working with. And that can be an orisha or an element, such as, water or earth or whatever it may be. It doesn't necessarily have to be an orisha. So you have to create and build, a strong relationship with that element. For example, like if you're trying to work with the water element, you may develop just different types of relationships with water so that you can see how it interacts with you. So like I don't know, go and sit by some water, or, you know, and just kind of analyze how the water flows, you know, when different things happen, you know, when the wind blows a certain way or when it rains. Go swimming, learn how to swim, go kayaking or something. You know, you have to just kind of figure out, how does water react in these different types of situations. Freeze water, you know, look at it, just kind of become like this little scientist working with water. Boil water or steam some water and see what happens. You know, what happens when you add fire to water. So you have to figure out all these different relationships with different parts of nature. And then you'll kind of know how to interact with it. You'll learn how it works. Not necessarily just always looking in books, because I know when I started studying African spirituality, I read a lot of books on Ifa, Orisha, and a lot of times the information was all wrong or just very surface, you know. And for the most part, if you've read one book, you've pretty much read them all, because they all kind of say some of the same stuff over and over again, and no one really gets too deep into what it, you know, what those aspects really mean. Like, you know, Oshun, for example, people just think it's love or sex or something like that, but don't really understand what love or sex is in the metaphysical sense. So these books don't really, you know, go into that as much as Chief does. So again, for those of you who are on the fence about signing up for the training, or who are just listening to the shows to pick up rituals here and there, and I know that's some of what goes on, and then you send us emails asking us, you know, to explain things. But you should definitely go back and listen to the free shows so that you'll kind of understand what he means by, you know, some of the instructions that he gives. Listen to all the free shows, and then you can also go to Sadulu House and sign up for the free course. I'm not even sure if a lot of you all know that there's a free course that's a prerequisite to the ANU spiritual training. So work your way through the free course first, and then decide if you want to take the spiritual training. But definitely, like I said, make sure you go over those classes, because I've never heard anyone go in like Chief does on these Orisha, or even on the elements. I've never really had heard really good explanations on the elements, and he does this very well on not only the blog talk shows, but of course in Grasping the Root of Divine Power and the Shrine and Altar book. They're discussed at length in that book. So, and you can get some really good information on rituals and things in that book as well, on how to set up your shrine and altar. So, excuse me. But like I was saying, you can't really go to a book. You have got to come out of that cave, as painful as it may be, and, you know, get in touch with some of these elements to learn how to work with them. So another thing that was brought up in the clip was, he said that, you know, we need to incorporate more elements into our work. So like I said, be that herbs or oils, stones, whatever it may be. And we have to do this because we have to use these things to compensate for what we lack. We just don't know enough. You know, as hard as that is to admit, this is unfamiliar territory for a lot of us, especially if you're coming from a different religion where you don't have to do anything. You just kind of pray and hope. There's no there's no type of ritual or anything that you really have to do. You know, you just hope for it or pray for it, and if it doesn't happen, well, it wasn't meant for you. Is usually the excuse. It wasn't meant for me to have it. So when we come into a system like this, where you have to actively do something, you have to maintain relationships, it can be difficult for some of us. So we have to use tools when we do these rituals, because we just don't have enough ashe. So we have to learn how to use herbs and plants and stones and things like that. So before I close, I wanted to, usually I play the clip twice, but I had played Shatavia's clip. So let's go over the clip once more before I close out, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And make sure you didn't miss it.
Do not work or are not working. Or why is it that my prayers are not being answered? Well, this question comes up often. People ask me, especially after they may have worked with someone who may have given them some work to do. You know, you could have gotten a reading and you were told to burn a certain type of candle or to wear a certain type of oil, make a certain type of offering, and there would be, you know, the outcome that you desired, but then you perform all of those acts and nothing occurs, at least uh, to the visible eye, the physical eye. Nothing occurs in alignment with what you're asking for or you desire or you may need. Okay, the first thing to understand is that the energy that you go into your rituals with is the energy that the ritual will amplify. Okay, so if you go into a ritual or prayer or affirmation with the energy that this may not work, it won't work, or I'm only doing this just in case, then that's actually the type of ashe or vigor that's going to be on that particular action or that particular ritual. One of the things that I see often, and sometimes I have to even kind of warn students and clients about, is the lack of research and study as it pertains to your spiritual walk. Having or showing the commitment to those energies that you're looking to work with will cause them to want to work with you more, but also to have a higher level of dialogue and results. So if you're looking to work with Oshun or you're looking to work with Oya, then you should do the proper study on Oshun and Oya. So that way, when they start expressing themselves to you in their various forms, you're already familiar. Or more importantly, they can express themselves to you in their various forms because you familiarized yourself with those various forms. So now they can speak a larger breadth of language to you. So when you are raising up your intellectual and your spiritual and genetic station in the universe, you become more apparent to those energies that you're looking to work with. For those who come and view this particular work or spiritual work as just a financial transaction, and they say, okay, well, I'll just pay someone or I'll buy certain supplies from a spiritual store, give those, and I'm fine. You'll find that you'll consistently be doing rituals and they're not working. Well, one of the reasons is because a person who's coming with such a low vibration or with such dim light actually has to go through more work to invoke those spirits, because ultimately they cannot see you, nor can they hear you. So now if you're coming into a ritual or a situation or a ceremony experience and you're bringing no light, no evolution into that experience, then you have to work all the much harder to get those entities to pay attention to you, if they will at all. And even if they do, then what you're actually receiving is the lower aspects of who and what they are, as opposed to the higher aspects that deal with you when you're vibrating more in that guru mind state or above the heart chakra. One of the entities that we have that I often note as a perfect symbol of obedience is the sun. The sun always does its job. It always commits itself to the work that it has to do. And it's one of the greatest offerings that you can even give to the spiritual entities that you're working with, is the power, the energy of the sun, whether it be through through fire, whether it be through plants. A lot of times we're told to bring herbs and we're told to bring flowers in our ritual work, because those beings, they trap the power of the sun inside of them. And then through certain invocations or certain processes, even just by making them essential oils, getting the essence out of those herbs or flowers. You unleash the power of the sun in them. And of course, when you're dealing with plant life, you have wind, you have soil, earth, you have water, and you have sun. So they're a more complete being.
Okay, so there you go. That was the clips that Chief, an excerpt from the show, Make Sure Your Rituals Work. So before you go into the ritual, or before you're, emailing, asking for rituals, or calling into the shows asking for rituals, you have to ask yourself, are you asking for a ritual because you're truly doing something already that will add some energy to the ritual so that it can be more effective? Or are you just kind of doing, going through the motions of this ritual just because it's like a go for broke move? Like, you've tried everything else, so let me just throw that in there too. Maybe, I've just exhausted every other possibility. Let me just throw that in there and try this too. Is that the kind of energy you're going into this ritual with? You're hoping that something kind of works. It's not, you have this anxiety around it because you were possibly irresponsible, or you didn't prepare like you should have, to make, or you just made bad decisions, and now, you're kind of reaping you're reaping what you sow. You just, and these horrible things are starting to happen to you that you don't want to experience. So let's do a ritual real quick. Let me get a ritual. So make sure that that's not what you're doing. We got to kind of honestly look at our situations before we try to get a ritual from somebody and then blame that person for it not working or not being as effective as you wanted it to be. And another thing that I was thinking of while the clip was playing was, again, make sure you develop a relationship with these elements so that you'll start to know if they are responding to you when you do your work. And so one picture that just like flashed in my head as I was thinking about it is The Last Airbender. These different characters, you could see how they worked with energy and how these energies responded to them. And that's because they had a relationship with it. So they could, create fire when they needed it to, or calm the fire when they needed to, or, create storms and things of this nature. So you've got to start to develop a relationship with elements or plants or, stones or whatever, your thing is. So on October 12th, we're going to be working with oils, which of course is like an extension from the herbs, because we're going to be talking about how to extract the essence from different herbs and plants to make the oils. So make sure you go to anunation.org/events to register for that one. That's going to be on the 12th of next month. And if you are interested, you can go ahead and register for the one on alchemy, which is going to be on the following month. Okay, so that's something you definitely don't want to miss. It is a live event, so you will be able to ask questions and get immediate feedback. So just go to anunation.org to register. Okay, and I would just like to say thank you again for tuning in to the show This Strong, and I will that you take the information that I shared to heart and especially go back and listen to those shows and sign up for the free course if you're still kind of debating on whether or not you should take the training, which I think is a benefit for everyone, especially if you're working with Chief. So that is all I have for This Strong. I will talk to you next Strong. Peace and power.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.